Okay, this is gonna be a big one, guys. Warning, this video will contain spoilers for One Piece. Viewer discretion is advised. Now, One Piece is an anime that I have been avoiding watching for a very long time. And when I say a long time, I mean probably up to a decade at this point. Now, why have I been avoiding this show so avidly? Well, overall, it's kind of been a mixture of things looking back on it. Firstly, and honestly, this may be the most hypocritical one with the point that comes up later, is that I hated the way the women were drawn. From what I had seen, they were literally twigs with the biggest pair of acorns being plopped onto them. Why did I write it like that? And that was not appealing to me. Secondly, I just did not like Luffy. I'm not entirely sure why, as for a majority of the time, I had never seen the show. And when I did, I had only given it a few episodes of a chance before giving up on it. I just remember thinking that he was annoying and low-key selfish for some reason. Now, thirdly, and most importantly, I'm a big fan of Fairy Tail. Now, I know that's not a fair reason to judge a show, but it's true. That's why I judged it. I would hear people talk shit about Fairy Tail and preaching to watch One Piece instead of Fairy Tail, or to just watch One Piece instead of Fairy Tail because they've got the same vibe, but One Piece is just better. And frankly, it made me upset. Now, this is something I'm going to save for another video because it's too much to talk about here. However, I do find it to be a disservice to both shows to consider them to be the same, because they are not. They have a similar theme perhaps, but I felt differently watching both of these shows. They both had their own ups and downs, but frankly, I think it was still worth watching both. Now, I don't think I've made this quite clear yet. I love One Piece. In fact, I love it so much that I started it this year and am currently on episode 766. No spoilers in the comments below, please. I finally worked up the courage to make a video on it before I was done watching it. So please try to respect me here because I want to keep it as spoiler-free as possible. I don't exactly recall what spurred me to do it, but one day I decided I'd give One Piece another chance. I finally got past the dog and it's barking this time. I'm sorry, I just can't take it seriously. Why does the dog sound like that? Like, I think that's why I stopped the first time, because I just could not get past that dog's barking. And if there's a reason why, let me know, but... And, after that, I kind of watched just because I felt obligated to watch, in sort of a mundane manner, until Usopp's introduction happened. And, this little arc is all the show had to do to hook me. Show someone crying about protecting their friends whilst being beaten up on the ground, and I'm sold. That sounded a little worse out loud, but the point is, I really only got hooked on One Piece when I got to this arc, because there was a character that I could relate to. Usopp, if I'm saying that weird, let me know. Usopp. Usopp is my favorite character, hands down. There is honestly no competition when it comes to that. And the weird thing is I'm not sure if many people would agree with me on this. Like, to me, he is such a complex and well-written character who has been almost handled perfectly. But I also know there are people out there who see him as an annoying, whiny baby, which is fair enough. The funny thing is, I could see why people would be annoyed by him, but he doesn't annoy me in the slightest. This isn't an Usopp video, so I'm not going to dive too deep into that, but I do plan for one in the future because I have to write about this. I will literally explode if I don't. Also, another character that I really, really like is... I love him to bits. It's Buggy. I remember not understanding why anyone would like him the first time I met him, and then was confused by why he legit got a mini arc in like the first arc. I actually don't remember when it was, but still. But as I've watched him grow and fail, I've grown to love the man and his boyfriend. Please don't kill me for that one. sorry. Guys, I am so sorry, but I cannot handle Zoro. This may be a hot take, I don't know, but I just do not care for him. When his backstory first came up, I was so excited because I thought it would be so cool if he had a female swordswoman, that he just could not overcome throughout the story. I guess in a sense that's true because now she's dead, so he can never beat her and he can never prove that he's the strongest swordsman, because what if she had been stronger? He can't prove that. Anyway, I just wanted him to have that challenge throughout the story, that she was stronger than him and that it would have drove him crazy. Then they killed her off and I was like, well, okay, I'll see where this goes. They introduced someone who looks just like the girl did, but they kind of dropped that for a while. Like, it's kind of come up, but also not really. And it's been like 700 episodes, you know? And he's sexist against women, despite the fact that one literally used to kick his ass. I guess I would just need time to sit down and sift through all of Zoro's stuff, but it all comes down to the fact that Zoro is just fucking boring. I'm sorry. His fights are boring, his dialogue is boring, and the only thing I enjoy about his character is his gag of getting lost. Again, this may be a hot take, but I'm sorry. Sorry, not sorry, you know? You know what's not a hot take? You clicking that like and subscribe button. It means a lot to me and keeps videos like these coming out in the future. Anyway, back to the video. Chopper might be my second favorite character, which makes me sad because he hasn't had a fight in a very long time. They also took away the interesting thing about his powers, that it was like a high-risk, dangerous thing, but extremely powerful and taxing. Like high risk, high reward, but the risk is always there and it's more like a high price, high reward, you know? Also, I feel as if they swept the whole thing under the rug without anyone scolding him for it. It felt like he never got in trouble for using it, despite how taxing and dangerous it was for both himself and the others. Other than that, I love him so much. He's such a cute little guy. I miss him, please. His fights are more interesting than Zoro's. Please give him back, please. I don't really have a lot to say on Luffy. I wrote that here, but this is like 2 paragraphs, so... I think he's a very well-written main character, and I enjoy him a lot. I remember hating him before watching the show for some reason, and sometimes he still annoys me, but overall, he's a pretty solid main character, which is a huge compliment, since I usually hate or at least dislike main characters in shonen specifically. Something that makes him different, I think, is that he's allowed to be flawed. He's allowed to be upset and unhappy about things, and he makes mistakes and he isn't perfect. Does he get too many of the fights, in my opinion? Sure. But honestly, that's something that I'm used to in shonen, despite the fact that it annoys the hell out of me. I might have to do a video on Luffy, because even though he isn't my favorite, he's a really solid character, and I wouldn't mind talking about him. Also, I really like his relationship with Usopp. Like, specifically, I think they have a really cute, like, friendship, which is why Water 7 really hurt. That's actually something that I really love about One Piece. It does a really good job of diving into different relationships between different characters. Like, for example, Robin and Usopp have like a relationship that's different than Robin and Chopper or Usopp and Chopper, you know? Like, I think that's something One Piece does really well, at least earlier on. And I feel like that's something you don't really see that often, so I really appreciated that. Robin had a really good arc, and I think she's got a creative power, and I think she's funny. Overall, I really enjoy her presence, but she's not my favorite, but she's a good character. Frankie is just kind of there. Like, I love him and I think he's hella fun, but I don't feel like we've gotten a lot from him. Like, don't get me wrong, he saved the day a lot, but the last thing I remember is him fighting a baby man. Yes, I know why the guy was the baby man, but huge props, but still, it's like, I feel like we haven't gotten a lot from Frankie, except for he's a softie, which I kind of like. I think that's really funny and cute, but I'm watching him. I'm watching you, Frankie. Brook is also kind of just there. I think his character is interesting, but he hasn't really gotten his time to shine yet. I really like his voice actor and enjoy his time on screen, but like Frankie, he's kind of just floating there right now. So I'm also keeping an eye on him. Nami is probably my third favorite because of the way they wrote her. She had a beautiful character arc and has grown quite a bit over the course of the series. I like the fact that she isn't necessarily strong and is allowed to be weak, but I do wish they would use her in some more fights since I like how smart she can be and how she thinks about her fights and how she can win them, you know? Sanji. Oh, Sanji. This is what makes me mad about this one. I think he would be higher up if his stupid pervy trope wasn't there. I hate it so much that it actually pisses me off when it happens. Admittedly, the Nami Suan is funny sometimes, but when it's all of the time, it frankly gets grating. The Fishman Island arc was particularly bad. And his stupid ass rule about not fighting women is going to make me slam my head into the concrete. I'm sorry. And the thing that pisses me off is that I really like Sanji otherwise. In fact, I'm getting into the arc that gives us more information on his backstory right now, and I'm completely hooked. I'm so excited to learn more, but dear God, his trope ruins him. You know, I've actually been studying Japanese lately. I don't want to sound stupid, but I'm gonna ask this because, just in case any of you know, I've been studying Japanese, and Sanji, from what I know, means 3 o'clock. So is Sanji's name just 3 o'clock? Or is that not? I'm just trying to understand, you know. Now, I think I'm gonna pivot to the arcs specifically here. Thinking back on the arcs, I really liked Usopp's introduction. I can't remember the arc's name. Was that part of Romance Dawn? I don't know. I really liked Alabasta. And, yeah, I'm gonna be real. I usually like advocating for, like, bad arcs because I don't know, I feel like bad arcs usually have something good in them, and so does Skypiea, but like, I feel like the bads outweighed the good here, and it really ruined the arc. Like, I didn't skip the episodes completely, but I would skip through the episodes during Skypiea. I try to be considerate when analyzing stuff, but dear God, that was rough. I think there were some really good moments, but overall, it was just a drag. I might have to skim through it again sometime because I don't fully understand why it felt like that and like how it was different than the other arcs leading up to that, and I would be interested to kind of research why it was such a different feeling and why so many people didn't like it. Now, if I miss any arcs, please be kind and forgive me as I am doing this off the top of my head and don't have the best memory. The whole Water 7 arc might be my favorite arc so far, not gonna lie. It had some of my favorite moments in the series, just so well done overall. I also actually really enjoyed Thriller arc. It had a lot of fun fights despite the Oars fight going on way too long. I got so sick of that fight. Okay. Guys, please don't kill me for this. I think the Summit War was okay. A lot of people consider it to be the peak arc of One Piece, and I'm sitting here like, was it? Like, yeah. Now, hear me out for a second, okay? I really liked the first half of this arc. Like, the stuff with Buggy, Mr. 3, Mr. 2, I'm sorry, I can't remember the name right now, but iconic. And Ivan. Ivan? I loved all of that, and I loved the stuff before that as well. However, once we got to Ace, and Luffy began to run to get to Ace, that's where it fully lost me. Listen, guys, I'm a patient person, okay? I watched Hunter x Hunter's pacing and I liked it, okay? But when Luffy takes at least 30 episodes to make it to his brother, that's when I lose it, okay? I can only handle so much. And I know people are like, oh, this is the peak arc, but I'm like sitting here like, I was struggling to get through to that part. I feel like so many of the fights were unnecessary with people I didn't care about. And it just frustrates me so much because otherwise the arc would have been really good. Everything after getting to Ace was peak. So we could have just cut out a bunch of that and it would have been fine. And I'm like, One Piece, come on, buddy. Come on. That might be a hot take, but it's my take. Fishman Island, it was okay. I really liked Punk Hazard, and Dressrosa was absolutely peak. I think there were some pacing issues in Dressrosa. It went on just a little tiny bit too long, but like that's a pretty normal thing for One Piece. So whining about it every time is not gonna do any good. I just started Zao, I don't know. But I'm pretty sure I'm going to enjoy this one from what I've seen so far. I'm hoping that Sanji gets some good stuff because he needs it. Now, what changed my mind about One Piece when I was so against it in the first place? Because before, I didn't understand how much the creator cared about his characters and his world. I didn't realize how much thought, time, and effort he had put into a majority of them. I didn't realize how much I would relate to a scared, weak liar. And I didn't realize how much love and passion was put into it overall. One Piece has its issues, yes. Some of them being so big that people aren't willing to give it a chance, much like I was. However, after sitting down and consuming a bunch of One Piece in a rather quick manner, I've come to realize something. People don't watch One Piece because it's perfect. People watch it because they can relate to it. Now, I'm not saying that we're all pirates on a pirate crew, but One Piece kind of does make you feel that way. The characters are so thought out and cared about that they bring life and meaning to Oda's world. They do stupid shit and mess around. They make mistakes and they fail. They bully each other, but would beat up an entire gang for hurting and humiliating one of their own. We as humans crave friendships. We crave deep and meaningful relationships, whether we want to admit it or not. In One Piece, their friendships are so tight and impressive that we ourselves want to be a part of that. We want to see the deep connections between characters. We want to see them care about each other because we as humans want others to care about us. It's not as obvious when it presents itself to us in our daily lives, which is why we strive for media that represents that. We as humans want friends. And that's an important part of One Piece, friendship. Because what could possibly be more important than those who you want to protect? Thank you guys all so much for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe. Who's your favorite One Piece character? Tell me who and why in the comments below. I would love to hear your differing opinions and like reasonings why. It's always so interesting to see because you can learn a lot about a person by their favorite character. Now, I do plan on making that Usopp video because I don't think I've ever loved a character's writing so much before, so I want to take a deep dive into it. With that being said, thank you all so much for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and as always, I will see you all next time.